Hey, my name's Dylan. I'm 27 and I live in a small wooden cabin I built myself on the outskirts of a quiet lakeside town in Michigan. It's nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom place with a porch overlooking the water, surrounded by pines and the occasional deer wandering through. I work as a carpenter at a local workshop, fixing furniture, building decks, and taking on odd jobs for folks around town. It's steady work, gets me outdoors, and lets me work with my hands, which is all I've ever really wanted. Life here is simple. Mornings with coffee on the porch, evenings tinkering in my shed, and nights listening to the lake lap against the shore. No drama, no rush, just the way I like it. Next door to me is Elise Turner. She's 37, works at the town library, and lives in a cozy cottage with flower beds out front and books stacked on every windowsill. She's been divorced for about 5 years now from what I've gathered in passing conversations. No kids, no pets, just her and her quiet routines. We're the kind of neighbors who wave in the mornings and lend a hand without making a big deal out of it. I've fixed her leaky roof a couple times, mowed her lawn when she's been busy, and once even rebuilt her front steps after a bad winter storm cracked them. She never lets me go without thanks, usually in the form of homemade bread or butter cookies warm from the oven, with a note saying something like, "For the handyman next door." Our interactions are easy, comfortable. Mornings, I'd often spot her watering her flowers in the yard, wearing those oversized gardening gloves and a sun hat. She'd wave, and sometimes she'd clip a few sprigs of lavender and hand them over the fence. "For your bedroom," she'd say with a soft smile. "It'll help you sleep better." I'd take them, inhaling the fresh scent, and mumble a thanks, feeling a little warmer inside than I'd admit. Evenings when it rained, she'd sometimes show up at my door with a plate of treats. "Storm's coming down hard," she'd say. "Thought you might like some company, or at least some snacks." We'd sit on my covered porch, sipping tea, talking about the cold Michigan winters, the squirrels that raided her bird feeder, or the latest book she'd read. Nothing deep, just light chatter that made the evenings feel less empty. I never pushed for more. Elise was older, more settled in her ways, and I figured she saw me as the helpful kid next door. But there was something about her quiet laugh, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about a good story. That stuck with me. She had this grace, like she'd been through enough to know what mattered and what didn't. Me? I'd bounced around a bit after high school, taking carpentry jobs across the state before settling here. No big heartbreaks, no family drama, just a guy figuring out how to build a life that felt solid. That weekend, the town was buzzing about the spring fair down by the lake. It was an annual thing, booths with local crafts, games for the kids, food trucks slinging everything from fried dough to apple cider. I'd gone alone the past couple years, grabbing a bite and wandering around, but this time was different. Elise caught me while I was out fixing our shared fence line. "Hey, Dylan," she called, leaning over with a watering can in hand. "You hear about the fair this weekend?" I was thinking of going. It's been ages since I've had their fried apple pies. They say they've got some new games this year, too. I straightened up, wiping sweat from my brow. "Yeah, sounds fun. You going alone?" She shrugged, a little shy. "Unless you want to tag along. Could be nice to have company." I hesitated for a second, partly because I wasn't used to plans like that, partly because the idea of spending a whole day with her made my pulse pick up. But I nodded. "Sure, why not? I could use a break from the workshop. Pick you up Sunday morning?" Sunday came with clear skies and a gentle breeze off the lake. Elise stepped out in a light blue sundress, her hair tied up in a loose bun, carrying a small bag slung over her shoulder. She looked relaxed, younger somehow in the morning light. I was in my usual white button-up and jeans, feeling a bit underdressed next to her. We walked the short path to the park where the fair was set up, chatting about the weather and how the lake looked extra blue that day. The air was alive with music from a local band, kids shouting at the games, and the sizzle of food on grills. Booths lined the paths, selling handmade soaps, jewelry, and jars of local honey. We started easy, tossing rings at bottles in one booth. Elise missed most of hers but laughed every time, her voice carrying over the crowd. "I'm terrible at this," she said, handing me her last ring. I nailed a couple, winning her a small keychain prize. "For your library keys," I teased. Then we tried the sack race, hopping like idiots across a grassy stretch. She tripped halfway, tumbling into the grass with a yelp, and I helped her up, both of us cracking up so hard we could barely stand. Her dress had a grass stain, but she just brushed it off. Haven't done that since I was a kid, she admitted, still giggling. We queued up for the fried apple pies next, the smell making my mouth water. When we got our order, we found a bench by the lake to share them. The pies were hot, flaky, and sweet, and we took turns biting into one, wincing when the filling burned our tongues. Ouch, worth it though, Elise said, fanning her mouth. God, it's been forever since I've had this much fun. Hanging out with someone younger must be rubbing off on me. I felt my face heat up a little. You're not old, Elise, and yeah, this is nice. We sat there a while watching boats on the water, the fair's energy buzzing around us. For the first time, the age gap felt like nothing, just two people enjoying the day. As we wandered deeper into the fairgrounds, the energy picked up around us. The band on the main stage was playing some upbeat folk tune, and the crowd was thickening near the food trucks and game booths. Elise was still munching on the last of her apple pie, her eyes scanning the colorful tents with a childlike curiosity I hadn't seen in her before. Look at that, she said, pointing to a booth where people were painting faces, kids with whiskers and butterflies, adults with silly stars or flags. We should get something done. Maybe a little lake wave on your cheek? I laughed, shaking my head. Nah, I'll pass. You'd look cute with a flower, though. She rolled her eyes but smiled, and for a moment the walk felt effortless, like we'd done this 100 times. That's when the announcement crackled over the loudspeakers, cutting through the chatter. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, step right up to our special game today, the Longest Kiss Challenge. The couple who locks lips the longest on stage wins a giant teddy bear plush, perfect for snuggling on those chilly Michigan nights. Sign up now at the main tent. No entry fee, just bring your best smooch. The voice was enthusiastic, almost cheesy, and a ripple of laughter went through the crowd. People started nudging each other, some couples giggling and heading toward the sign-up sheet, others shaking their heads in amusement. I felt my steps slow, a flush creeping up my neck. Kissing contests? That was the kind of thing teenagers did at county fairs, not us. I glanced at Elise, expecting her to brush it off, but she was staring at the stage with a mix of intrigue and mischief in her eyes. Oh, come on, she said, her voice light but teasing. Look at those pairs lining up. There's a young couple over there looking all confident, and wait, is that Mr. and Mrs. Hargrove from the hardware store? They're in their 60s. She laughed, covering her mouth. Everyone's getting into it, it's just for fun. I tried to play it cool, but my heart was picking up speed. Yeah, fun. But, we'd have to pretend to be a couple or something. The words came out clumsier than I meant, and I shoved my hands in my pockets, avoiding her gaze. Part of me wanted to keep walking, pretend I hadn't heard the announcement. But another part, the one that had been noticing how her laugh lit up her face all day, was curious. What if? Elise tilted her head, studying me for a second. Pretend? Well, why not? It's not like anyone's going to judge us here. And that bear is huge. I could use it as a reading pillow. She bit her lip, a habit I'd noticed when she was thinking something over, and then her eyes sparkled. Unless you're chicken. That did it. I chuckled, feeling a challenge in her words. Chicken? Me? All right, fine. If we win, the bear's all yours. But if we lose early, you owe me another apple pie. She grinned, wide and genuine, and grabbed my arm lightly. Deal. Let's sign up before I change my mind. We made our way to the sign-up tent where a volunteer handed us a clipboard. I scribbled our names, Dylan Brooks and Elise Turner, as couple number 7. The guy behind the table winked. Good luck, folks, and stage in 5 minutes. As we walked away, Elise leaned in close. Okay, now I'm a little nervous. It's been a while since I've done anything like this in public. Her voice was softer, a hint of vulnerability slipping through her usual composure. Me too, I admitted, my stomach twisting. Heck, I haven't kissed anyone in public since high school prom, and that was a disaster. We both laughed, but there was an undercurrent now, a tension that hadn't been there before. What if this crossed some invisible line? She was my neighbor, 10 years older, someone I'd shared quiet evenings with. not someone I kissed on a whim. But as we waited in line with the other pairs, watching them joke and practice exaggerated smooches, I couldn't deny the thrill. The young couple ahead of us was all giggles, the older Hargroves holding hands like pros. Elise fidgeted with her bag strap, her cheeks a faint pink. "What if people from town see us?" she whispered. "They might think—" I shrugged, trying to sound casual. "Let them think. It's just a game." But inside, I wondered the same thing. Finally, it was time. The MC called us up to the stage, a simple wooden platform under a canopy with a microphone and a timer projected on a screen. We stood there with the other 6 couples, the crowd gathering below, cheering and whooping. The MC explained the rules. No hands below the waist, keep it family-friendly, and the last pair standing wins. Ready? On your marks. Get set. Kiss. My pulse hammered as I turned to Elise. She looked up at me, her blue eyes wide but determined. "You good?" I asked quietly. She nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Let's do this." I leaned in, my hands gently resting on her waist, and our lips met. It started soft, tentative, just enough to count as a kiss for the contest. But as the seconds ticked by, something shifted. Her hands came up to my shoulders, steadying herself, and the world around us, the cheers, the music, faded into a distant hum. The kiss started simple, almost tentative, like we were just going through the motions for the game. Her lips brushed mine softly at first, a light press to satisfy the rules, but the moment they connected, everything shifted. It was like the world narrowed to just us. The warmth of her mouth, the faint taste of apple pie lingering on her breath, the way her hands tightened slightly on my shoulders as if steadying herself. I felt a spark run through me, electric and unexpected, and my arms pulled her a little closer without thinking. The crowd's cheers blurred into white noise, the stage lights dimmed in my mind, and all I could focus on was Elise, her scent of lavender and fresh air, the subtle curve of her waist under my palms. I expected it to feel awkward, forced even, but it didn't. It felt right, natural in a way that caught me off guard. Her eyes had fluttered shut just before our lips met, and now, with mine closed too, I could sense her relaxing into it, her body leaning against mine like she'd been waiting for this excuse. Time stretched. Seconds turned into what felt like minutes. I heard the MC calling out eliminations. "Couple 3 is out. Nice try, folks." And faint laughter from the audience as other pairs broke apart, gasping or giggling. One young duo pulled away after barely a minute, red-faced and high-fiving like it was all a joke. The Hargroves lasted longer, but even they tapped out with a sweet peck and a bow to the crowd. But us? We kept going. Elise's fingers dug into my shirt a bit, not painfully, just enough to anchor us both. I could feel her heartbeat through her chest, fast like mine, and it made me wonder if she was feeling the same rush, the same surprise that this wasn't just pretend anymore. A part of me wanted to pull back to laugh it off and say, "Good job holding out," but another part, deeper and quieter, didn't want it to end. I'd never kissed anyone like this before, not with an audience, not with someone who knew my daily routines and still looked at me like I mattered. The age difference, the neighbor thing, it all faded. She was just Elise, warm and real in my arms. 2 minutes down, the MC shouted, his voice pulling me back a little. "We've got 3 couples left. Keep it going." Elise shifted slightly, her lips pressing firmer now, and I responded without thinking, tilting my head to deepen the kiss just a touch. It wasn't passionate or wild, not with everyone watching, but it was honest. I tasted salt from the fair's snacks, felt the softness of her breath against my cheek. My mind raced. What if this changes everything? What if she regrets it? But her hand slid up to my neck, fingers threading into my hair, and any doubt melted away. We were in this together, lost in the moment amid the hoots and whistles. One by one, the others dropped out. A couple beside us broke with a dramatic gasp, the guy wiping his mouth and grinning at the crowd. "That's it for us. Too hot up here." The MC laughed and the audience clapped. Now it was just us and one more pair, an older duo who looked determined, but were starting to falter. Elise must have sensed it too. Her grip tightened and I held her steady, our kiss steady, and unhurried. 3 minutes 30, the voice boomed. The last couple pulled apart with a chuckle, waving to the crowd. And that's it. Couple 7 takes the win at 3 minutes and 48 seconds. The roar of applause snapped us back. Elise's eyes flew open as the MC tapped my shoulder. All right, lovebirds, you can stop now. You've won. We separated slowly, our faces inches apart, both of us breathing heavily. Her cheeks were flushed a deep pink, matching the heat I felt on mine, and she let out a soft, breathless laugh. We did it, she whispered, her hand still on my arm. I nodded, grinning like an idiot, my heart pounding. Yeah, that was something. The MC thrust the giant teddy bear into her arms, a fluffy monstrosity almost as tall as she was, and the crowd cheered louder as we stepped off the stage. People slapped my back, whistled, and called out, "Way to go!" But all I could think about was how her lips had felt, how real it had been. Elise hugged the bear tight, her eyes sparkling with a mix of embarrassment and joy. I can't believe we lasted that long, she said, glancing up at me. You okay? I swallowed, still buzzing. More than okay, that was fun. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. The kiss had unlocked something, a truth I'd been ignoring.